Able Contemporary Gallery presents a print in 3 states, black and white stone lithography with color monoprinting. Print series, Hidden History by Barry Carlson, 2025. This video is produced for Able Contemporary Gallery's exhibition, How'd They Do That? July 2025. The process begins by graining the lithostone for the print. Removing old imagery and resurfacing lithostones begins with a levigator, water, and carborundum grits, ranging from 80 to 220. Graining begins with several applications of coarse grits and ends using a small stone with finer grits. The grained stone is ready to draw on. T and bar registration marks are scribed into the stone, and gum arabic has been applied to the borders. Sketches and full-size drawings clarify the idea. Photographs are used for reference. The line drawing will later be traced onto the stone. The image is traced onto the stone using a ballpoint pen and red iron oxide transfer paper. This tracing will not print. It's just used as a guide. The drawing begins using liquid touche, followed by lithocrayons applied in stages. Liquid touche and spray paint are used for splatter effects, and gum arabic is used in places to isolate the stone from additional image-making materials. Scraping tools are used to make edits and reductions of imagery. The finished drawing is dusted with rosin, then talc, and then lightly buffed. An etch mix of gum arabic and nitric acid is applied. The amount of acid is determined by the grease content of the materials used. Greasier materials need stronger etches. The etch is wiped dry to create a thin film of gum and let rest for several hours, after which the stone is ready to roll up in black ink. After the first etch, the stone is rolled up with black ink. The stone is moved to the press. After the first etch, black ink is rolled out, as shown at left. Drawing materials are removed with solvent. Asphaltum is buffed onto a thin layer to replace drawing materials and to become a base to receive the ink. Inking the stone is always preceded by sponging on a thin coat of water. Sponging and rolling on fresh ink is repeated until the image is fully inked. Inking is done slowly to come to a fully inked image. After the roll-up, a second etch is applied. Paper is prepared and the press area is made ready. When the stone is dry, rosin and talc are separately brushed on. Any edits are made and the second etch is applied. The etch strength is the same as the first etch, but made stronger in deleted areas. The gum arabic is wiped to a thin, dry film, as shown in the first etch, and let to rest. Paper and newsprint have been prepared, a clean space is set aside, and printing ink has been rolled out. Print registration using T and bar method, where pencil lines are drawn onto the back of each sheet of paper. Those lines correspond to the lines scribed into the surface of the stone. Correct size scraper bar is inserted into the pressure bar and aligned with the edges of the stone, and pressure is set. Editioning, the first of 3 print states. After the stone is dried for several hours, solvents are used to wash out old ink. Asphaltum is buffed to a thin layer. The gum film is sponged off and the image is rolled up. The roll-up is done slowly and several proofs are printed. Each print will become darker until the print is ready to edition. During proofing, the number of rolls and passes is established to keep each print consistent in the edition. Also, the pattern used on the stone is done so that each area of the stone receives an equal amount of ink. So the pattern that I use varies, starting from the corners and working out in a fan, and then never applying the roller in parallel movements always overlapping and being at a slight angle. Sponging is a very critical part, but a little more forgiving on stones than plates. So the T and bar is a line dropped on the T side first and the bar side second. Once positioned, you don't move the paper. A piece of newsprint is applied as a backing sheet, and the tympan is laid down. Press pressure is adjusted, and the pressure handle dropped. Crank through to the end of the print and reversed. Tympan's removed, and the print is exposed. Creating the second state print. After additioning the first state print, the stone is rolled up in black ink. Slightly less ink is used than needed to print with. Then just talc is applied. 4 applications of citric acid counter etch and water rinse is used to remove the gum film from the stone. This allows new imagery to be added. Image reductions are made by selective graining with 220 grit and scraping tools. Applications of material including lithocrayon, touche, and spray paint are used to create the second state. To print, all processes repeat just as they had in the first state print. First etch, roll up, second etch, roll up, and additioning. And here is the second state final print. Creating the third state. As in the second state, the stone is rolled up, talked, and 4 applications of citric acid counter etch are applied. This allows new imagery to be added, and image reductions are made by selective graining with 220 and scraping tools. Application of lithocrayon and touche are used to create the additions for this state. All processes repeat just as in the first 2 prints. Washing out old ink after the second etch reveals a history of the ghost images from the first 2 prints. And here's evidence of the final print. The monoprints. 8 monoprints were created using an etching press at Wright. The image of the second lithograph is printed on the mylar to use as a guide, see top right. Also, several key lines were drawn onto that mylar. Each print was created with multiple runs through the press using techniques listed below. This allows a spontaneous and experimental approach to printmaking. Each print started with a kernel of an idea, but no clear end. Often unexpected results create surprises, which make every print an adventure. Top right, notice thin layers of ink were added directly to the mylar sheet with brayers and then wiped away where desired with rags and Q-tips. In the middle row, thin kozu paper was cut into shapes and used to chine-coller onto portions of some prints. Bottom row on the right, perforated masonite was inked and used as a dot texture. Often the sheet was printed to a rubber blanket, and then the blanket was applied to the print to get a reverse effect. Other techniques include large mylar sheets that were cut and divided the print along the profile. Paper masks were also cut to mask individual shapes for various print runs. Oftentimes, the ink was left on the back of the paper and used to print a shape in a later print run. Solvents sprinkled on mylar created splatter textures. So here's a survey of the hidden history. 3 a person of interest states, versions of the first state. In one visible here of the second state, awakenings. The second print, awakenings. And 3 versions of revelation. the third state of the series. All the vertical stripes were done by cutting small pieces of newsprint and using them as masks, or flipping them over and using the ink on the sheet as a print matrix itself. Here's a wall in the studio of all the prints produced for the show. 6 will be presented in the gallery. All prints are available for purchase.